What if I told you that so many design ideas that we consider typical today actually came from 70 years ago? A design style based on simplicity and innovation. Mid-century was born, if you can believe it or not, in the 1940s and 50s, and the defining principles still remain relevant today. After World War II, there was this renewed sense of optimism, and combine that with technological advances happening at the time, many young architects started to experiment with this new way of thinking about our homes. Before, much of our houses here in Australia were mostly Victorians, with plenty of ornamentation, defined rooms, and small windows. Seeking something more Australian, the flipped was script. So grab yourself a martini and sink into your Eames chair as we take a look at some of the defining principles of mid-century homes and see why this style brings all the good vibes. But before we delve into the specifics, there's an overarching principle which wasn't really seen in Australian homes prior, and that is this connection to the environment around the house. So many of Melbourne's mid-century homes were built out in the growing suburbs, often on larger sites, and this allowed the homes to be able to orientate to best capture the sunlight. It wasn't so prescribed that the front door is here and then it's followed by 2 bedrooms and a living, etc., like a typical Victorian terrace. Instead, if the front of the property faced north, then that's where you place the living. Now, if I get you to close your eyes and picture a mid-century home, I'm confident that you envisioned a flat roof. The flat roof or low slope gable roofs that we tend to favour here in Australia was a radical departure from the typical hipped roof or hip and gable. This roof is definitely one of the more defining features of mid-century homes, and with advancements in material and construction, we were able to move away from steep terracotta roof tiles to those that were lightweight, flat, and made with metal. Remember that eye-closing exercise from, 30 seconds ago? Did you also picture walls of windows? As I mentioned near the start, a real connection to place was critical in mid-century homes. And one of the most effective ways to do it was through expansive use of glass. This was made possible, again, through technological advancements happening at the time, allowing structure to be lightweight and even those window walls having some structural properties to them. This use of windows gave the occupants a real sense of belonging, and you could truly experience your garden and soak in the sunlight, creating that truly unique lifestyle at the time. One of the biggest innovations to come from mid-century design was the open floor plan. What used to be a room for the dining, a room for the living, a room for the kitchen, all of a sudden, the open plan allowed the entire family to be in one room together. However, it wasn't like how we see open floor plans today. There may have been some joinery to divide the spaces while keeping visual connections, or a sunken lounge that denoted the living space, or even sometimes the kitchen was partially obscured. Now, I'm just speculating, but I believe the open floor plan came from architects making sure that there was enough space to groove. I could be wrong, but I could also be right. I like to think I'm right. Materials and colour played a huge role in the stylistic output of mid-century design, with more natural materials such as timber and stone being used, mixed in with some groovy colours. Ceilings may have been lined with timber, with cork flooring, perhaps a stone fireplace, or bricks were used for the exterior walls while also coming inside. But also, they embraced more manufactured materials such as stainless steel and chrome. The structural elements, such as columns and roof beams, were often left exposed. And the other aspect was colour. And while muted colours are often associated with mid-century, they were also bold, such as coral carpets that just scream party time. When you boil everything down or fry it in a pan or put it in the oven, mid-century homes were about embracing simplicity. The ornate ceiling roses, iron lacework and intricate furniture pieces from the Victorian era was simplified. Now it was about clean lines, zero ornamentation, functionality, and simple forms. Less is more was the thinking, and that was applied to everything I've discussed in this video so far. The last design principle of Australian mid-century modern has to do with the gardens. There was a very English approach to gardens prior to the 1940s, but they didn't always hold up too well in the February heat waves that we can experience here in Australia. Picture a penguin in the desert. It's not exactly a positive visual. The propagation of indigenous plants in the 1950s meant that there was greater accessibility to natives, allowing the Australian garden to come into its own. There was also a sense of taking the modernist ideas and principles of connecting architecture to time and place, but applying it to the design of the garden. This connection was amplified through the design of the home, where you could sit in your living room and feel as though you were in your garden through that expansive use of glass. There is no denying the impact mid-century architecture has had on design and the timelessness of these principles. I mean, a flat roof, expansive windows, open plan, natural and neutral material palette, simplicity, a native garden. I mean, that's just what we strive for our homes today. However, there was a period where mid-century was pushed aside in favour of the McMansion, and the heritage value of these mid-century homes aren't seen, leaving many demolished and many more at risk. But it does seem to be a renewed love and interest in this style of home, and it's not hard to see why. So hopefully these groovy mid-century modern pads can be saved for future generations to swoon over.